whole goal is to help them learn how to regulate it themselves. This time that they're in our house, it's a training ground, because they're going to go to college and they could video game all that they want. So if we can teach them to feel what that's like, to sense how it's affecting them, that's an even bigger win than just having them not be grumpy when they get off the device.
Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast. I'm Hillary Wilkinson. Whether you're starting your parenting journey with a newborn or looking to connect with your teen on technology, let's learn some new healthy screen habits together. Today, we get introduced to START, an international nonprofit that equips families to maximize the benefits of technology while minimizing the side effects, so kids can grow up happy and healthy in an increasingly digital world. With the podcast Screen Sanity, as well as tool books and one-click parent guides, START does an amazing job of helping families choose their path for digital wellness. And my guest today is the co-founder and executive director for this amazing organization. She is going to teach us about the healthy handling of tech, as well as go over a tool that I think many will appreciate having, a video game decision tree. Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast, Tracy Foster.
Hillary, thank you so much. We're big fans and so grateful for the opportunity to talk today.
Oh, likewise. So could you tell us, I'm really interested to hear a little bit, I know you and I spoke earlier, but about the background of what was the motivation behind you co-founding START, and how did you guys get your start in digital wellness for families?
Yeah, the motivation was being moms at 3 different stages who were wondering, what the heck are we going to do about this? When should we give our kids phones? How should we handle social media? How should we feel about video games? And just feeling like there was a lack of information available. When we make most of our parenting decisions, we talk often about how there are usually 3 routes that we take. One is we ask our elders. And when we asked our elders in this situation, they would give encouraging words or sometimes very discouraging words, like, glad I didn't have to do that. But they had never lived it, right? So the other thing that we do is we go to books. Like we were thinking back in our mind to what to expect when you're expecting. And we were longing for where is the what to expect when you're tech-specting? Because this is something we need to prepare for, right? You read a book like that to try to get a roadmap and a sense of what's coming, just so you can be prepared and have some sense of where you're headed. And then the third thing that we do is we ask friends just a little bit ahead of us. So we hit big red X's on those first 2. And so we thought, great, we're going to go to those friends just a bit ahead of us. And I don't know if you find this too, Hillary, but typically pick a topic. Ranging from babies like potty training or sleep issues up through elementary school, like playground drama or juggling sports. I mean, college processes. You ask these friends just a bit ahead of you. And in general, I think on almost every single topic, you get no shortage of opinions. You might ask 3 different people and you might get 3 different opinions, very strong opinions, right? So for the 3 of us to go out and say, hey, we're going to talk to some different friends. Let's see what they say. And when we went and did that, we did not get the reaction I just described. Instead of hearing ideas, we got these kind of deer in the headlights, very vulnerable, candid conversations saying, I don't know what to tell you to do, but do something different. And here are some of the side effects that I'm seeing in my household that I never expected. And the most startling thing that I think has already just in the past few years, hopefully really gone down, but was shame. The number of people who ended that story by saying, and I've never told anyone that this happened, was crushing. It was this awareness of that was an accident. And how can you heal? One of our co-founders is a therapist. How can you heal from this if you're feeling so much shame that you can't go and talk to other people about it? And after we had even just once we'd had dozens of conversations, we started to see there's commonality here. You're not alone. We are the first generation of parents navigating a life with digital natives. And yes, we're making mistakes, but just like Maya Angelou says, when you know better, you do better. And we can only know better when we have each other to learn from and to help lift each other up.
Right. Building that tribe of
Yes.
moms and learning from each other's stumbles. I agree. I think it's equally, just as you pointed out, it's so important that we recognize that we're this first generation of people to be parenting, which is always kind of an interesting verb, but parenting through this, digital waters. We are
Yeah,
the last generation that will remember the before. And
that's right. I love
there is
that.
power in that. There's power in the knowledge of the before, and it's something that it's critical that we don't lose.
You're right.
So,
We have a sacred, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a metaphor. Is it like that the thing that Moana has to go recapture, that spiral, the heart of Tefiti, is that what it's called? We have this treasure, and we all have it. There's not just one of it, of having tasted and known. And you're right, it is a treasure that we could easily have get left behind. And even in many ways we do, because we're here talking about healthy tech for kids, but it starts even with us. Even
for
those of us
sure.
who do have those roots, those life experiences, those memories of going outside and playing in the woods as kids, or having a face-to-face conversation with a romantic partner as one of our first interactions with them, not just Tinder. We have that, but we ourselves even can lose touch of it with all the
Right.
things that are coming at us.
Right. And all of this connection kind of ties into the acronym behind your guy's name of START, which the acronym stands for Stand Together and Rethink Technology. And
Mm-hmm.
I love the emphasis that you have on working through the family relationship with technology as a together thing, as something to embrace and choose this healthy path forward. So, but I'm interested. Do you have kind of a top list of things that you find that parents come to you guys for the most help with?
Yes. Well, I'd say it's probably four things. One is, how do I create a plan? Just at a meta level, what should this look like? And there we talk about five general principles. We align them with our name around digital health. Then I'd say the other felt needs are things like, what do I do about phones, social media, and video games are probably
Mm,
the biggest topic specific things. But at that broader level, we think about this as a concept, what we call digital health, just like we think about physical health and mental health. What is our health in this digital world? Because we're spending a whole lot of time there. And so we kind of hijacked our name and came up with five different elements that we think are some key considerations for digital health.
very cool. We're going to get into those five elements in just after our break. Special thanks to the Doctors Petty, Laura Hoffman, and Danielle Waters for their financial support of healthy screen habits. It allows us to continue our mission of educating and empowering families to create their healthiest screen habits. My guest is Tracy Foster, co-founder of START and mom of two. So, Tracy, not only is START an acronym for Stand Together and Rethink Technology, it's also a basis for your guiding principles. We were starting to get into that a little bit before the break, and I'm wondering, can you take us through them now?
Yeah, gladly. Well, they do align with the letters of our names. We're going to do START. But yet another play on words is that this is all intended not to be a master list of, oh my goodness, I need to do everything on this list or else feel bad. But it's just a place to start. So these are some different tenets that you can think about and say, gosh, which one of these really feel like the right next step? We find in general on this issue, if you take a simple next step that feels doable, and then you succeed in it and you feel those benefits, that's what's going to propel you to do more things. And it's also easier for your family as opposed to going kind of cold turkey on a lot of things and feeling intensity that then may not be able to be sustained. So they are a place to start. The first one is our plot twist: start with yourself, because we do come into this topic mostly by seeing the challenges that our kiddos are having, hopefully with empathy, seeing that it is hard for them. It's not just annoying for us, but then realizing, wow, we are the mentors and guides. We are the models here. And you know what? I struggle a lot with my own digital health. I am obsessed with productivity, and I have a productivity tool that I could carry with me all the time. Oh, what a temptation. So, this is where we help parents think about what the ways are that we can be intentional about thinking about our own tech use and making sure that that's at the front of our mind when we talk with our kids. Our next letter is a T, and that stands for tables and bedtimes. And that is the premise of the fact that we are on our devices so much, doing a lot of wonderful things for many of those hours, but we just need a break. Just like they get to recharge, we say, shouldn't we get to recharge? Excuse me. And so we encourage each family or person, whatever your community or individual context is, to think about device-free zones. And if you're looking for a place to start, we recommend tables and bedtimes. So tables, there's amazing research that shows the benefits of family dinners. You don't need gourmet food, but you need to be able to look at each other eye to eye and have those conversations. It might be awkward at first, but if you press through, it's so good. And then the second one is bedtimes, getting those devices out of kids' rooms overnight. Oh, we could have a whole conversation just about the power of sleep and the challenges that come when our impulse control is so much lower.
Right, right. Establishing a family charging station, but getting the tech out of the bedrooms. I have this conversation so often. I feel like people must be bored with hearing it, but it's amazing to me how many people I still talk to who are hearing it maybe, or maybe it's only resonating with them for the first time. And so I think it's critical that we continue to push forth this message, but the importance of practicing good sleep hygiene, which entails removing digital devices from the bedrooms, particularly of our children, it's just critical. It will set them up for a better regulated day. A longer health for ourselves, better mental health. The whole family unit gets affected.
How grumpy am I when I don't get good sleep? And so that's what so many of our kids are going through day after day. And we wonder why they're grumpy and moody and all of those things. And like you said, if we could just get better sleep, that I think if we could just make this one thing a norm across society, it would be transformative,
I cannot agree with you more.
And they got there accidentally again, right? There's no judgment. It creeped in because sometimes someone wanted to use an alarm clock. Guess what? Our phones, they're magical. They're alarm clocks. They're music devices. They're all of these different things. It is actually harder for us as parents to solve those individual needs than to just put a device in there. But we're now realizing, oh, that was easy at the startup, but now it's causing more challenges, and it's worth it to go through that work.
Right. So the price of admission may be low, but the cost overall is beyond expensive, beyond your wildest dreams expensive.
And if we do it where more and more, one of our biggest passions is to raise up communities that are talking about this, that are creating some new cultural norms. Mm-hmm. And so if you aren't the only parent who creates the norm of a charging station and things like that, then it's not going to be as hard for our kids. They don't have to have FOMO because they're not missing out on anything. Everyone else is sleeping too. And so that's just a huge, huge gift.
Right. And being brave enough to be the parent that collects phones during sleepovers and everything else, which is, it is so, you can feel yourself cringing on the inside and dying a little. And just, I remember the sleepover. It was my son's, I want to say like 13th birthday, and I had to collect phones because I was like, I know too much. I am going to die on this hill. Exactly. And so I came out with my basket and said, okay, you guys, at our house, we collect all devices at 10 o'clock. I have to say, my son has done a wonderful job of choosing excellent friends. They all handed them over without fail. And I said, I'll charge them for you overnight, collected everything. And then I have to tell you, it was amazing to see in the next hour when I just kind of did the living room walk through. That's our house is set up. So it's easy to just
Love
kind of
it.
be aroundish, you know?
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden they were, doing all the goofy, light as a feather, stiff as a board games. They were playing Rochambeau. They were playing cards. And without fail, when I asked the boys individually, some of these boys I had like, outside relationship, could chat with
Yeah.
easily. And I was like, yeah, that was pretty, well, how was that for you? Without fail, every single one of them said the party got better after you collected the phones. And here was the really interesting part, Tracy. The comment was because then the only people that were there were the people who were invited. And it was like the top of my head blew off because I didn't even think about that. It's that digital natives versus digital immigrant thinking, where I was like, oh, yeah, because prior to that, they had their whole tribe, their whole other crew was there and they were having to be on display.
Yes. Can
So,
you
okay.
imagine thinking back to your own childhood sleepovers to have those everything you're doing be on display?
No, no.
It's
Yes.
just
Okay.
unbelievable. I love that. I got goosebumps as you shared that story because it is so true.
Such a livable, teachable, learnable moment as
Yes.
a parent and a kid.
And to get that reinforcement because it is hard. Like you said, you had to be courageous
Oh,
and you did it
yeah.
in a winsome, engaging way. But Brene Brown talks about how when you first do things like that, they will act like they are literally dying. But once they work through it, and some people say it's about 20 minutes, it takes about 20 minutes from when you've left your phone to stop thinking about it. Like literally, if you've left it behind for 20 minutes, you are still thinking about it very actively. And so, but once they make that shift, I mean, that was probably one of the best quality times that those boys had had in who knows how long.
Right, right.
So
And
rich.
what was so great was it completely set a precedent for our house as well, where both of my kids know if we have sleepovers, you have to turn in your phone. Like friends are not exempt from the phone
Yeah.
turn in rule. And I also now, as a quick aside, I do have to tell you that I did inform parents that
Yes.
phones get turned in at this house. So if they are trying to connect with their child, they're not thinking, "Oh my gosh, what's happened?"
Right.
So I say,
Totally.
please use me as the conduit for
Yep.
communication.
And can I
Okay.
also clarify, you didn't put the phones into a prison because this is the other thing that I think some people can freak out about is, hey, that child, or because sometimes the parents are the ones who freak out about it the most. But if that parent wanted to get a hold of their kid, you're not acting like you're the only gatekeeper because it could be they could text you or call you and say, hey, Hillary, I'd love to talk to Matt about something. And they're in a basket. So you could say, hey, Matt, your mom would love to talk to you here. And then you step aside for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you talk to your mom, and then you go back. So there's
Exactly.
still freedom. It's not like we're taking people to a monastery. We're just giving them the freedom of being able to enjoy where they are. Yeah. Oh, I love what
Right.
you did.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so we are only on the T. I feel like, gosh, we could really.
Okay.
I know you and I are going to be able to go off on all of these,
Yes.
so I'm just going to try and keep us on rails. So
Okay.
for with your START acronym, we've got
Yep.
S, which was start with yourself. T was tables and bedtime.
So our next letter is A, which is a very unsexy word, accountability. But it's basically about helping to think about the places where our kids are navigating online. It is not the same as a playground that has a recess guard, a recess teacher, and fences. They are able to navigate so many different things. And while we don't like to lead with fear, there are challenges. There's predators or all of these different things. And so we help equip parents to know what they might want to think through about providing some technical protections on those devices, as well as some relational prevention and just kind of preparing parents for the types of things kids might be seeing and experiencing and helping them think through who they want to be and how they want to respond. Probably not if, but when our kids get into some of those situations.
Okay. So, and now, how about R? What is the R?
So R stands for Ride, Practice, Drive, which is basically taking a driver's ed approach to technology introduction. We could pick almost any metaphor though, because almost everything else we do with our kids, be it cooking or driving or playing baseball or horseback riding, whatever it is, our kids get gradually more opportunity and responsibility once they've demonstrated competence of a building block. And right now, the norm is to basically give a kid a fully unloaded smartphone at age 9 or 10. And instead, we live in a moment in time where there are now so many awesome devices that we can give our kids along the way to help them taste and build that next skill, fulfill the desire for connection and safety in an emergency without giving them the whole world, the weight of the world on their shoulders.
The final T is going to be what in your START acronym?
It is time well spent. So that is both online and offline. What are the things that we're doing? Because I think what happens is we end up losing track of the trade-offs. What are we striving for? It almost makes me think of the guy who wrote 7 Healthy Habits. He talks about starting with the end in mind. What do you value as a family or as a person? And then how can your online time and your offline time support that? But if we don't take time to think about what time well spent is to us, we end up giving our time away because we don't feel any type of trade-off. So we like to help families think through online and offline ways to use that time well.
Okay, so let's talk gaming. My focus this season of the podcast is all about outdoor time and connections with nature. I feel like one of the biggest struggles that families often have during summer months is managing video game time. And we are like right around the corner from summer here. And so gaming is kind of the opposite of being outdoors, but yet I recognize that for many kids, connecting online has become a way to maintain friend groups. And we certainly saw that during the lockdown, during pandemic, et cetera. So I think I'm going to start with like the 50,000 foot view question of how much gaming should be allowed.
I wish I had a magic number, but it depends. And I think what I can give you that hopefully will help is something that you can scale to any of your kiddos in different situations. Our answer is that the number one thing to determine how much is too much for your kid is about behavior change. If your kid is able to get onto that game, whatever the platform is, it really doesn't matter, and engage, enjoy, but then transition effectively back into the rest of life. Now we can talk more about transitioning. There are tips to help them transition and, touch them or do something, engage in the physical world or go outside. That's the best. But that's what you really want to look for. So if your kids, even if they're playing 20 minutes, but then they have this hangover effect or they're super irritable when it's time to get off, they have probably gotten too immersed into this world and they can't pull back up. Now, I will give the disclaimer that one thing that can be tricky about time is games have levels. So it can feel very artificial and our kids can really kind of push back if it's like, okay, well, no, it's exactly 20 minutes. Of course, they're going to be irritable if they're about to. I always put myself back in in Mario world. And I think, oh man, what if I was about to get to that next mushroom? And then all of a sudden it just had to turn off. Like, no, let me finish my level or let me get to that next milestone. So time is not always a perfect factor, but having some range of, okay, hey, it's been about 20 minutes. I let them finish their level. They're still just really irritable. That means that they are probably a kiddo that's just getting too wrapped up in it. And so we encourage you, we can talk about our video game decision tree, but there are some really practical ways that you can be thinking about it. But we designed this also so that you can talk with your kids about it to explain it to them how you're thinking about their video game time.
That's fantastic. Yes. On your website, which I will link in the show notes to this episode, you have this great tool that I immediately was drawn to, thinking this is like a boots on the ground. I mean, this is something I would print off and like put on. My refrigerator isn't magnetized, so I tape everything to the inside of my pantry doors. I would tape it right next to the cereal, Tracy.
Yeah, wow, that is the biggest compliment. Amazing.
So
but that's our hope. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have this tool called the video game decision tree, and I could you walk us through this? Tell us how to use it, what types of questions are included, etc.
Yes, I will walk you through it. And I think printing it out and putting it somewhere is perfect because it helps have clear expectations in everything. It's so useful when you and your kids have clear expectations and they become shared of, okay, hey, I will react like this if you do this, right? It kind of makes you not have to feel like a bad guy. It creates some consistency. So we start by the question of, can I game? There are some times where the answer is no, it's time for dinner. So no can always be a closed door. But if the answer is yes, you can, then we do recommend setting a timer. We have some benchmarks in here, but they're just benchmarks. Maybe it's 30 minutes for a 10-year-old, 60 minutes for a 15-year-old, all sorts of factors. Is it a weekday? Is it a this? Is it a that? You can adjust, but we're just throwing something out there. Pick whatever time it is that feels right. Then there are 3 different kind of outcomes that could come from that. The first is that they could be totally self-regulated. This is the dream. For many of us, this feels completely unrealistic, just a dream. But this is where, hey, the timer goes off and the kid gets up, they turn off the timer, and then they're like, okay, it's done with my game. And then they turn it, they close it, and they walk away. That's dream world, right? But some kids can start to get there, or they might turn off the timer and then finish their level, but they have the ability to be like, okay, now I'm going to go to dinner. Then they can know, and this video game decision tree makes it clear that if you do that, the next time when you ask, if it works for a family, I'm going to say, yeah, you can do this again because you're doing this well. The other place, it could be either child regulated, where they're doing what I just said, or parent regulated, where the parent says, hey, kiddo, it's time to get off. That can go in 2 directions. The first one is something really calm, where they say, okay, hey, I'm going to finish this level. It should just take a couple minutes and then I'll be off. And then they essentially go from there. They turn it off. They step away. Next time, if they ask you again, it's like, yes, you're doing great. Now, the alternative is on this parent regulated side. If you say, hey, buddy, hey, kiddo, hey, sweetheart, it's time to get off. And the kiddo responds in a really irritable way. I mean, many of us have seen this, like, no, but I just got to do it, or not even responding, or just like grunting. I mean, those types of reactions, that is showing that they are having an inability to kind of pull themselves out of that world. And so there, it's something where we need to intervene and, maybe touch them on the shoulder and say, hey, I love your brain too much to argue. It's time now. And in that case, we aren't giving them the ability to finish their level because their behavior didn't merit that, right? So we might say, hey, time to go outside. Let's, do something else, whatever. And then the next time, if they ask, hey, yeah, you can play, but this time we're cutting it in half, right? Or whatever seems right to you in that situation. And what I really like about this is it disarms. We try as much as we can as an organization to be the bad guy because it's so hard. But so if you can say, hey, this is something that I found, ideally, if other families use it too, and you can say, oh, this is something that a bunch of us at XYZ school are doing. And it makes it really clear, hey, bummer that this didn't go well today, but guess what? We can keep trying to build up. And look, there's hope. If you're able to handle it better next time, there's repair available so that it doesn't just feel, yeah.
I like how the consequences are directly tied to the actions involved as well. It's not just arbitrary, like, oh, well,
that's right.
You have to go to bed half an hour earlier, or now you have to go, do dog poop patrol in the yard, or but it's like the consequences match the behavior.
Good. That's what we really strive for, because our whole goal is to help them learn how to regulate it themselves. This time that they're in our house, it's a training ground, because they're going to go to college and they could video game all that they want. So if we can teach them to feel what that's like, to sense how it's affecting them, that's an even bigger win than just having them not be grumpy when they get off the device.
So we have to take a short break, but when we come back, I am going to ask Tracy for her healthy screen habit.
Hi, I'm Amy Adams from Healthy Screen Habits. I have the privilege of running book club, and we invite you to join us each Friday over on Instagram at Healthy Screen Habits, where we discuss books that will help us create healthy screen habits for a balanced life. We have a book that we do every couple months, and we hope you'll join us and enjoy and learn and grow with us.
Tracy Foster is responsible for the strategic direction and vision of the organization START. She also frequently contributes to news publications such as the Wall Street Journal on the topic of digital health. So, one of the things on their website of START that I like is they show each of the members' online faves. And I knew Tracy and I would get along when I saw that her online fave included the Chipotle app, Target's online order pickup, and Etsy. So I'm quite interested now to ask you for your healthy screen habit, which is on every episode of the Healthy Screen Habits podcast. I ask each guest for a healthy screen habit, which is a tip or takeaway that our listeners can put into practice in their own home. So Tracy, do you have one you can share with us today?
Sure. Well, we talked earlier about device-free zones. But just like our devices get to recharge, so should we. And we talked about tables and bedtimes, and those are great. But we also love encouraging people to think about what is maybe a more unique or random space or place in your life that you want to have be device-free. And for our family, it is sporting events. My boys love sports, and I do now too. It's been a learned thing over the years. And it doesn't matter in our family if it's little league or big league. These are meaningful family experiences. And so we have this very random thing that one of our device-free zones is at games. We do allow exceptions. We might take a picture or video or two, but it has been so powerful to create these spaces. And it has allowed us to even have things where professional baseball games with one of my kids is a mother-son activity. And I literally think of the big life topics going on or things that I think that he's stressed about. And that is a space in place. We're sitting next to each other. We're not like having to have intense eye contact. But because we've created that as this device-free place and we're just kind of sitting in there together, it is a natural place to be able to have some really meaningful conversations. Great. But who knew? We don't put sports games as usually, where do you want to make device-free? But that's where it is for our family.
Right. Yeah. And I love that also because we're not a baseball family, but we were on many soccer fields for many years. And, you do feel compelled to take a lot of pictures or do a lot of filming. But when your kid makes the goal and they whip their head around, what they want is your eye contact. They want that recognition, that personal connection of I see you. Not my eyes are on this device, which is capturing this moment, but yet somehow it's outsourced that way. So I love this tip, and nobody else has ever given it. So I that speaks volumes. So as always, I will link the START website in the show notes of this episode, which you can find by going on the Healthy Screen Habits website, click on podcast and scroll down for this episode. Tracy, thank you so much for taking the time to share your amazing resources and great organization with us.
Thank you. We are huge fans of you and Healthy Screen Habits and just so grateful to get to connect.
For more information, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Healthy Screen Habits. Make sure to visit our website, healthyscreenhabits.org, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or via RSS, so you'll never miss an episode. It's free, it's fun, and you get a healthy new screen habit each week. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you giving us a quick rating. It really does help other people find us and spread the word of healthy screen habits. Or if you'd simply like to tell a friend, we'd love that too. I so appreciate you spending your time with me this week, and I look forward to learning more healthy habits together.